Earlier this week, Israel sent troops into Gaza City, an offensive that it has threatened for quite some time in order to take over control of almost the entire enclave. At the same time, in the last 23 months, it has been carrying out a different sort of offensive in the occupied West Bank. Last month, my colleagues and I, we traveled around significant parts of the West Bank. First, we went north to the northern West Bank, to the city of Jenin, where there's a refugee camp. In January, the Israeli military made a full-scale entry into the camp after a few raids the year before. They met little resistance, but they took over the entire camp, have displaced about 20,000 people. But 9 months later, they were still there. That's the longest presence that the Israeli military has ever had inside a refugee camp or in what's called Area A of the occupied West Bank. When we came back and we spoke to Israeli politicians about why the Israeli military is still in there, they pointed to something quite specific. The goal here is not just to defeat Palestinian militancy. Since October 7th, while waging a war in Gaza, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his far-right finance minister have taken wide and effective steps to undermine what's left of the Oslo Accords, expanding settlements by taking more and more land under their control, trying to divide up the West Bank in ways that would make a future Palestinian state close to impossible. When you drive around the West Bank, you see evidence of how this has been put into play. For one thing, there are extremist settlers who have taken over wide swaths of land. When you speak to Palestinian officials and Palestinian diplomats, they will say to you that with sufficient international pressure, some of this could be reversed, that there is still a vague hope of a Palestinian state.
It's never too late should we garner sufficient international will and momentum and energy to actually backroll occupation, dismantle all these illegal colonial settlements, and establish an independent and sovereign state of Palestine.
When you drive around the West Bank, that seems less and less likely. The settlements continue to expand. The Israeli military is out in full force in the West Bank. And you also have in Netanyahu and his coalition, the most far-right government that Israel's had in its history. And their opposition to the idea of a Palestinian state is quite resolute.